the anniversary of the end of the Second World War. It's called Victory Day in Europe, or VE Day. In Germany, Tag der Befrieung, or Day of Liberation, and it's celebrated on May 8th. The USSR, and now Russia, celebrates the end of World War II, which it calls the Great Patriotic War, on May 9th. Why are there two different dates? And what's relevant for this date when we're watching developments with Russia's war in Ukraine right now, 78 years later? Hi there, I'm Dr. K, a political scientist who looks at how information is shared. And the next couple minutes, we're going to look at how the end of the Second World War is relevant to Russia's war right now. On May 7th, in Frankfurt, Germany, supporters of Russia were seen on the street, while in Berlin, for the second year in a row, both Russian and Ukrainian flags are forbidden at the Soviet memorials in the capital on May 8th and May 9th in order to ensure the dignified commemoration of the fallen soldiers of the former Soviet army. On May 8th, 2023, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called on lawmakers to designate May 8th as a day of remembrance and victory over Nazism in World War II, moving away from the Russian tradition of commemorating the event on May 9th. But there are more dates. The official end to World War II is actually September 2nd, 1945, when the Japanese signed the surrender documents on the deck of the battleship of the USS Missouri. That was just weeks after the first atomic bomb, Little Boy, was dropped on Hiroshima, and the second bomb, Fat Man, was dropped on Nagasaki on August 6th and 9th. But the war had been done in Europe for a few months already. On May 7th, 1945, representatives from the Allied High Command accepted the unconditional surrender of Nazi Germany in France, marking the end of World War II in Europe. Even before that, on May 2nd, the battle for Berlin ended when Soviet troops took over the capital, although some pockets of resistance did persist. On September 2nd, May 7th, May 2nd. None of these dates are May 8th, when victory is celebrated in the rest of Europe, or May 9th, when Victory Day is celebrated in Russia. Oh, and did you know that Germany did have to surrender twice? And it was all for social media, which was just called propaganda back then. And the double surrender was because the beginning of the Cold War was already starting. Stalin was really angry when he learned that Germany had unconditionally surrendered in France. He wanted the USSR's most senior military commander to accept Germany's surrender.
His logic was that Russia had lost the most soldiers and civilians.
More to that in a minute. The other allies remembered that the last time Germany surrendered, it was kind of the cause for the beginning of the next conflict, so they wanted to get it right, and they let Stalin have his surrender. The German surrender in France wasn't even in the Soviet press until after the Soviet surrender in Berlin happened. Proof something that the Berlin surrender was an important propaganda move so Stalin could claim a larger part of the credit for ending the war to justify high Soviet losses. And the propaganda wave that started on May 9th, 1945 is still rolling through Russia today. That's why many are wondering if there'll be a major military action on or around May 8th. Here's the history. In the fight against Hitler's Germany, almost every family in the Soviet Union lost someone. Many families, including Putin's, lost most of a whole generation. About 27 million Soviet people died. Now here's the footnote. While Ukraine was part of the USSR, official data says that at least 8 million Ukrainians lost their lives in World War II. Between 5.5 and 6 million civilians and more than 2.5 million Ukrainians were killed at the front lines. And yes, there were collaborators in Ukraine. Please watch my video on Babin Yar's Last Survivor to learn about how the Holocaust was addressed in Soviet times. War is traumatic, and the Soviets didn't begin celebrating Victory Day until the 1960s. By then, the immediate trauma of the survivors had largely been pushed aside or suppressed. You'll often see families with pictures of their World War II dead at events on May 9th. Millions of people across Russia traditionally march in what's called the Immortal Regiment processions. Russians celebrate the occasion of Victory Day by going to cemeteries to lay flowers on the graves of family members. and tanks rumbled through Red Square as part of a huge military parade. And nearly 80 years since World War II has ended, Russia is benefiting from the propaganda still. Putin's been in power in Russia for over 20 years, and celebrations for May 9th have become theatrical, tacky, and kind of belligerent, according to some. And any enemy of Russia is cast in the same form as its World War II enemy, as Nazis. According to the Russian nationalist ideology, the Nazi danger survived World War II and now must be addressed in North America, Europe, and particularly Ukraine. A museum in Moscow about World War II now has an exhibition that portrays the war in Ukraine alongside the victory over Nazi Germany. For those in the back of the room, the fact that Ukraine's president is Jewish does not stop him from being a Nazi, according to this train of thought, because Nazism was disenfranchised from the Holocaust in the Soviet Union. This May 9th is different. Speculation about when the Ukrainian spring counteroffensive will start and dramatic footage of 2 drones flying over the walls of the Kremlin on May 3rd have exposed vulnerabilities in the heart of the Russian capital, and this is putting Moscow on edge. There are reports that authorities have banned the use of drones and started jamming GPS signals, which 6 Russian areas have canceled the festivities for May 9th. What do they have to celebrate? Moscow's winter and spring assault in eastern Ukraine, which began in February, has really yielded little advances at a very high cost. Since December, Western sources believe that over 20,000 Russian servicemen have died in Ukraine. And that might be why this year the Immortal Regiment procession has been canceled already on April 16th, because it could have shown the real number of Russian losses in Ukraine, with relatives bringing the portraits of those killed in the current war. The head of the Wagner Group used some pretty harsh comments in a video directly accusing senior Russian military leaders of incompetence, and he announced his Wagner forces would depart from Bakhmut after the victory parade on May 10th. May 9th might be Putin's chance to show his country that he's still strong and in control of the so-called special military operation in Ukraine. Feel better informed? Make sure you subscribe and check the links in the description of this video for more information on May 9th celebrations.